Hi everyone, my name is Norman. I run the blog nimbleneedles.com and today I want to show you how to knit an icord. An icord is a knitted string made on two double-pointed needles. These cords are used in a lot of knitting patterns and there are actually quite a lot of fun variations. You can use them as drawstrings or button loops and so much more. So let's show you how to knit it. First, why is it called icord? When you look closely at it, then you will see that an icord is basically nothing else but a very small tube knit in the round. And because it's so small, you get away with knitting it on one needle instead of four. The great Elizabeth Zimmermann rediscovered it and made it popular, and she thought the technique was so simple that even an idiot could knit it, and hence named it icord. If you ever saw one of these knitting spools, strickliesel, knitting mushrooms, or however else you call them, then you might realize that they produce the exact same cord, though the process is a bit different. Let's show you how to knit it. Start by casting on 3 stitches on double-pointed needles. There are ways to knit an icord on single-pointed needles and circular needles as well. I'll show you how to make that work at the end of this video. You can cast on any number between 2 and 5 stitches for thicker or thinner icords, but for this tutorial we'll cast on 3 stitches. Next, slide those 3 stitches all the way back to the far right of your needle. That's why you need double-pointed needles. And from here, start knitting across these 3 stitches without turning. That's important. That's how you knit the icord, without turning. So 3 stitches all the way across. And now slide those 3 stitches back to the right and knit across them. So it's always the same. You finish one row, and once you did, you slide them back to the start and knit all the way across. Keep the working yarn in the back, never bring it to the front. And then you will quickly see your little icord emerging. You can also knit an icord without double-pointed needles. So if you only have circular needles or single-pointed needles, no problem. Just imagine these were your circulars or your single-pointed needles, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So you will have to knit across all those 3 stitches or 4 or however many you cast on, just the way you did before. But now obviously you can't slide those stitches to the other end. Instead, what you have to do is you have to slip them back to the left needle, and then you can knit across them the way you did before. And when you're done, then you have to slip them back to the left needle. This will take quite a lot more time, so I don't really recommend it if you want to knit longer icords. Also, as you slip those stitches, you tend to loosen up the stitches a bit, so it might look a bit less neat. But if you just need to knit a short icord and you don't have double-pointed needles, then you really don't need to buy them, just slip the stitches. Now let's quickly do some theory before we can get really creative and start the fun. You could knit an icord with 3 needles in the round as well. Now I don't really recommend doing this, but this is actually the traditional way to knit small diameter tubes. Now the gap here and here and here, you have to bridge these gaps whenever you switch needles. And the thing is, if you have an icord, let me show you. This gap here, you bridge it as well, and it's actually the same size. So that's why the icord works. And once you understood this, that you're actually knitting a small tube here, you probably will realize that you can combine the icord with any stitch pattern you want. For example, you could purl. Let me show you. If you purl each stitch instead of knitting it, then your icord will look like this. The only thing that you have to remember is that you always have to bring the yarn around from the back. So not like this or anything, always around from the back. Otherwise, you will be creating floats or little gaps. You always have to bring it around all the way. And since you have to bring it around a tiny bit more for the purl icord, I don't really recommend doing it with more than 3 stitches. This is a purl icord with 4 stitches, and as you can see, there's always this one little stitch that is a bit wider than the rest, and that's because I had to drag the yarn all the way around. But otherwise, this can be a really nice alternative. You can also create a little spiral like this one. I cast on 3 stitches and then I knit 3 and purl 1, then you knit 3, purl 1, knit 3, purl 1, and that way you create a little purl stitch that is constantly moving around, and it's creating this little spiral. You can also create these curly icords. This is a 3 round repeat, so round 1 is knit. Round 2 and 3 is each knit 1, slip 1, knit 1. And if you repeat these 3 rounds over and over again, you get these kind of curly icords. They really toy around, the possibilities are really endless. There's one last thing I would like to mention. Icords tend to look better with yarns that are a bit fussy. Cotton yarn is really unforgiving, and you will spot the tiniest mistakes from a mile away. Wool, on the other hand, will usually hide these minor mistakes, and if you're a beginner, that's definitely something you need to consider. Anyway, that's it. That's how you knit an icord. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a big thumbs up if you liked it. And of course, consider subscribing to my channel in case you don't want to miss any new videos. Happy knitting and enjoy the rest of your day.